The Breaking Point commander, Alina Vasquez, stared at the holographic display floating above her desk, her coffee growing cold as the implications of the intelligence report sank in. The blue light from the projection cast shadows across her weathered face, highlighting the concern etched in her features. After 30 years of military service, she had seen humanity bend under the weight of the Zephyrian Empire's demands. But this latest information changed everything. The report detailed something that made her stomach turn. Hidden throughout the galaxy, on mining worlds and research stations, thousands of humans worked as slaves. These were not just any humans, but the brightest minds Earth had produced over the past century. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and innovators who had been taken as tribute to the Empire. The official story was that they served as advisors and researchers, living comfortable lives in exchange for their expertise. The reality was far darker. Alina touched the hologram, zooming in on grainy surveillance footage from a facility on Kepler 438b. Human figures in ragged clothing operated dangerous mining equipment under the watchful eyes of Zephyrian guards. The conditions were lethal, and according to the report, the average life expectancy for a human worker was less than 5 years. These people had families back on Earth, families who believed their loved ones were safe and serving humanity's interests in the stars. The door to her office slid open with a soft hiss, and Director James Park entered. His usually composed demeanor was replaced by barely controlled anger. As head of Earth's intelligence division, James had access to information that would keep most people awake at night. Today, his face showed the weight of that knowledge. Alina looked up from the hologram. The situation was worse than they had imagined. The Empire had not just taken humans as tribute. They had systematically stripped Earth of its most valuable resource, its people. For generations, humanity had believed they were part of a galactic community, paying their dues for protection and technological advancement. In reality, they were cattle being slowly milked for their intelligence and creativity. James activated a second display, showing shipping manifests and transport schedules. The scope of the operation was staggering. Every month, Imperial transports left Earth, carrying not just minerals and manufactured goods, but human beings. The selection process was disguised as academic exchanges, research opportunities, and diplomatic missions. Families proudly sent their children to serve among the stars, never knowing they were sending them to their deaths. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 3 millennia. Their technology was advanced, their military was vast, and their control was absolute. Every species either served them willingly or faced extinction. Humanity had chosen to serve, believing that cooperation would lead to prosperity and eventual equality. That belief had been carefully cultivated by imperial propaganda, but the truth was far different. Alina studied the tactical assessments scattered across her desk. The Empire maintained a garrison fleet in the Sol system, ostensibly for protection, but actually for control. Their ships orbited beyond Pluto, monitoring all human activity and ensuring compliance with imperial law. Any attempt at rebellion would be met with overwhelming force, just as it had been with dozens of other species throughout galactic history. But something was different this time. For the past 20 years, while openly cooperating with the Empire, humanity had been working on something in secret, deep beneath the surface of Luna, hidden from imperial sensors. Earth's greatest minds had been developing technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The project was known only to a handful of people, and its existence was humanity's most closely guarded secret. The lunar facility housed more than just research equipment. It contained weapon systems based on principles that the Empire had never encountered. Human scientists, working with captured Imperial technology and their own innovative approaches, had created something unprecedented. They had turned humanity's greatest weakness, their lack of advanced technology, into their greatest strength by approaching problems from angles that more advanced species had never considered. Alina received a priority. Communication from President Sarah Chen, the leader of the United Earth government. The president's face appeared on the wall screen, her expression grim but determined. Behind her, Alina could see the flags of Earth's nations, symbols of a world that had finally found unity. In the face of galactic oppression, the conversation was brief but historic. President Chen had called an emergency session of the Global Defense Council, and the decision was unanimous. Earth would no longer submit to imperial rule. The tribute payments would stop, the shipments of human workers would end, and any imperial vessel found in human space would be considered an act of war. It was a declaration that would echo across the galaxy and mark the beginning of a new era. Alina understood the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. The Zephyrian Empire commanded fleets that could turn entire star systems to dust. Their weapons could crack planets, and their shields could deflect anything humanity had ever seen. But the Empire had grown complacent over the millennia, relying on fear and tradition rather than innovation. They had not faced a real challenge in over 1,000 years, and that might be their weakness. The first test would come soon. Imperial Viceroy Thane Karax commanded the sole garrison fleet from his flagship, the Sovereign's Will. The massive vessel was a symbol of imperial power, bristling with weapons that could destroy cities and carrying enough firepower to subjugate entire worlds. Karax himself was a Zephyrian noble, a being whose species had evolved on high-gravity worlds and possessed physical strength that dwarfed human capabilities. Alina prepared for the most important communication of her career. As Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, she would be the one to deliver humanity's declaration of independence to the Empire. The message would be broadcast simultaneously to every Imperial ship in the system, every Zephyrian outpost, and every species in the galaxy that had the technology to receive it. What she said in the next few minutes would determine whether humanity lived free or died fighting. The communication array powered up, its transmitters reaching across the void, to touch every corner of human space. Alina took a deep breath, thinking of the enslaved humans working in Imperial facilities, of the families who had lost their children to Imperial lies, and of the future that humanity could build if they had the courage to seize it. She opened the channel to the Imperial fleet, her voice carrying the weight of an entire species' determination. Commander Elena Vasquez speaking on behalf of the United Earth government and all humanity. As of this moment, Earth formally withdraws from all treaties with the Zephyrian Empire. We no longer recognize imperial authority over human space or human lives. All tribute payments are terminated immediately. The response from Viceroy Karax was swift and predictable. His image appeared on the communication screen, his reptilian features twisted with anger and disbelief. The Zephyrian stood, nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled hide gleaming under the lights of his command bridge. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of 3,000 years of galactic domination. Karax demanded immediate compliance, threatening to reduce Earth to a burning cinder if humans did not submit within the next solar day. His words were backed by the power of 600 Imperial warships, each one capable of devastating Earth's major cities. The ultimatum was clear. surrender or face annihilation. Elena's response was equally clear. The Sol system is hereby declared off-limits to all Imperial forces. You have 24 hours to withdraw beyond the heliopause. Any Imperial vessel remaining in human space after that deadline will be destroyed without warning. There will be no negotiations, no compromises, and no mercy for those who refuse to leave. The communication ended, leaving Alina alone with the weight of what she had just done. In less than a day, humanity would either win their freedom or face extinction. The choice was no longer theirs to make. It belonged to the Empire, and whether they believed that one small species could challenge 3 millennia of galactic rule. Outside her window, Alina could see the lights of Earth's cities. Billions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their world stood on the brink of war. Soon, they would know that humanity had chosen to stand rather than kneel, to fight, rather than submit. The outcome would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of every enslaved species in the galaxy. The Imperial fleet began moving into attack formation, their massive ships casting shadows across the outer planets as they prepared for what they assumed would be a quick and decisive victory. They had crushed rebellions before, turned defiant species into cautionary tales told throughout Imperial space. But they had never faced humans, and they had no idea what humanity had been preparing for this moment. As Alina watched the tactical displays update with enemy positions, she allowed herself a small smile. The Empire was about to learn that humans were not like other species. When pushed to the breaking point, humans did not break. They pushed back, *. The line in the Sand Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Aegis Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship, watching as the Imperial fleet moved into attack formation. The massive Zephyrian vessels dwarfed his own ships, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that had conquered countless worlds. For 24 hours, the galaxy had held its breath, waiting to see if the Empire would retreat or if humanity would face annihilation. The deadline had passed 6 minutes ago. Marcus had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, though he had never truly believed it would come. As the son of President Sarah Chen, he had grown up understanding the delicate balance between human ambition and imperial control. But today, that balance would be shattered forever, and the consequences would reshape the galaxy. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, their faces showing determination rather than fear. These were humanity's best and brightest, volunteers who had trained for years in secret facilities hidden throughout the Sol system. They knew the odds, understood that they faced an enemy with technology centuries ahead of their own, but they also knew something the Empire had forgotten: the power of innovation born from desperation. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the communications officer, reported that the Imperial fleet was powering up their weapons. The massive energy signatures were unmistakable. The Zephyrians were preparing to make good on their threat to reduce Earth to ash. 600 warships, each one capable of cracking a moon, were about to unleash hell upon humanity's home world. Marcus opened a channel to all Earth defense vessels. Today, we stand at the crossroads of history. For too long, humanity has lived under the boot of the Empire, sending our best and brightest to die in their mines and factories. Today, that ends. Today, we show the galaxy what humans can do when we refuse to kneel. The response from his fleet was immediate. 43 Earthships, representing every nation and culture on the planet, acknowledged the order. They were outnumbered 15 to 1, outgunned by factors that defied calculation. But they were united by something the Empire had never understood: the willingness to die for freedom. Captain Rodriguez aboard the EDS Courage reported that the lunar defense platforms were online and ready. For 2 decades, human engineers had been hollowing out asteroids and constructing hidden weapons platforms throughout the inner system. These installations had been disguised as mining operations and research stations, their true purpose known only to the highest levels of Earth's government. The first Imperial ships opened fire, sending streams of coherent energy across the void toward Earth's moon. The beams were designed to eliminate the obvious military targets first, clearing the way for a systematic bombardment of the planet below. But when the energy struck Luna's surface, something unexpected happened. Instead of vaporizing the rocky terrain, the Imperial weapons were absorbed and redirected. Hidden beneath the lunar regolith were shield generators based on a revolutionary principle discovered by human scientists. Rather than trying to stop energy attacks, the shields captured and stored them, turning the Empire's own weapons against them. The absorbed energy was channeled into humanity's most closely guarded secret: gravitational manipulation technology. Human physicists, working with theoretical models that the Empire had never explored, had learned to bend space-time itself. The result was weapons that ignored traditional defenses and struck at the fundamental forces that held matter together. Marcus gave the order to activate the gravitational lance network. Hidden platforms throughout the asteroid belt powered up, their exotic matter cores reaching critical energy levels. The weapon had never been tested at full power, but computer simulations suggested it could penetrate even Imperial battle armor. The first gravitational lance fired from a platform, disguised as the asteroid series. The beam was invisible to conventional sensors, a twist in space-time that traveled at the speed of light toward its target. When it struck the Imperial dreadnought Eternal Dominion, the effect was immediate and devastating. The massive ship simply came apart, its molecular bonds disrupted by gravitational forces that no shield could deflect. 3 kilometers of advanced Imperial engineering became a expanding cloud of component atoms, leaving the surviving Imperial captains staring in shock at weapons they could not understand. Viceroy Carax demanded an explanation from his science officers, but none could be provided. Imperial technology was based on energy manipulation and exotic materials, concepts that had served them well for millennia. They had never encountered weapons that attacked matter at the subatomic level, turning their own mass against them. The lunar defense platforms revealed themselves as they opened fire, transforming from innocent-looking research stations into formidable weapons emplacements. Railguns accelerated tungsten slugs to significant fractions of light speed, while laser arrays, designed by human engineers, cut through Imperial hulls with surgical precision. But the most shocking revelation came when the Earth fleet engaged the enemy directly. Human ships moved with impossible agility, dodging Imperial weapons fire with maneuvers that defied their apparent mass. The secret was revolutionary propulsion technology that manipulated inertia itself, allowing human vessels to change direction without the crushing acceleration that would normally liquefy their crews. Captain Torres, aboard the EDS Lightning, demonstrated the new capabilities by executing a 90-degree turn at full combat speed, something that should have been physically impossible. Her ship twisted through space like a fighter aircraft, evading Imperial fire, while closing to optimal weapons range. The human weapons themselves were a study in innovative thinking. Instead of trying to match Imperial energy output, human engineers had focused on precision and efficiency. Quantum torpedoes phased through Imperial shields before exploding inside enemy ships, while plasma cutters carved through armor that had been considered impenetrable. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the balance of the battle shifted. Imperial ships that had seemed invincible minutes before were falling to human weapons, their crews confused and demoralized by technology they had never imagined. The mighty Zephyrian Empire was discovering that raw power meant nothing without the wisdom to use it effectively. The turning point came when the Imperial flagship, Sovereign's Will, found itself surrounded by human vessels. Viceroy Carax, his pride wounded by the unexpected resistance, ordered his ship's planet-killer weapon to target Earth directly. The massive cannon could punch through the planet's crust and trigger geological disasters that would end human civilization. Marcus anticipated the move and ordered the activation of humanity's ultimate defensive weapon. Deep within Earth's core, an array of gravitational generators created a localized space-time distortion. When the Imperial superweapon fired, its energy was caught in a gravitational loop, trapped in twisted space until it dissipated harmlessly. The psychological impact on the Imperial fleet was immediate. For 3,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had maintained control through fear and overwhelming firepower. Now, faced with an enemy they could not intimidate or destroy, their morale collapsed. Ship after ship began broadcasting surrender signals as their crews realized they were fighting a war they could not win. But the most important development was happening beyond the Sol system. Throughout Imperial space, other species were monitoring the battle through quantum communication networks. The Altarians, enslaved for 2 millennia, watched human ships dance between Imperial weapons. The Centauri Collective, reduced to feudal vassals, saw the mighty Empire's ships falling to human ingenuity. Commander Elena Vasquez, monitoring communications from Earth, reported that rebellion was breaking out across dozens of Imperial worlds. Species that had accepted their fate for centuries were suddenly finding the courage to resist. The myth of Imperial invincibility was crumbling, and with it, the foundation of their Galactic Empire. The battle reached its climax when Viceroy Carax himself was captured. His flagship, crippled by human weapons and boarded by Earth Marines, surrendered after a brief firefight. The symbol of Imperial power in human space was now a prisoner, his crew confined in human holding facilities designed to contain beings far stronger than any terrestrial life form. As the surviving Imperial ships retreated beyond the heat, Marcus allowed himself to feel the weight of what they had accomplished. Humanity had not just won a battle, they had shattered the illusion of Imperial invincibility. Across the galaxy, enslaved species were looking toward the Sol system with hope for the first time in generations. The cost had been significant. 11 Earth ships had been lost, along with brave souls who would never see their homeworld again. But their sacrifice had purchased something priceless, proof that the Empire could be defeated. The news would spread through quantum communication networks, inspiring resistance movements that had waited centuries for this moment. Asterisk. Dr. Amanda Foster, Earth's leading xenobiologist, analyzed captured Imperial data cores and discovered something remarkable. The Zephyrian Empire was not as monolithic as it appeared. Many of the species under Imperial rule were there by necessity. Rather than choice, their own worlds threatened with destruction if they refused to serve. Now, with evidence that resistance was possible, these reluctant allies might become active participants in their own liberation. The immediate aftermath of the battle saw a flurry of diplomatic activity. species that had never communicated directly. With humans began sending coded messages expressing their desire for alliance. The Altarian Underground, the Free Centauri Movement, and dozens of other resistance organizations reached out, offering intelligence and support for future operations. Marcus realized that humanity had accidentally started something far bigger than a war for independence. They had triggered a galactic revolution that would reshape the political landscape of known space. The Zephyrian Empire, built on fear and maintained through isolation of potential allies, was about to face enemies on every front. President Chen's voice echoed across Earth's communication networks as she addressed not just humanity, but every species capable of receiving their transmission. Today, Earth stands free. Tomorrow, we will help others find their freedom. The age of the Empire is ending, and the age of cooperation is beginning. The battle for Sol was over, but the war for galactic freedom had just begun. Humanity had proven that determination and innovation could overcome raw power, that unity could triumph over oppression. Now, they would need to prove that they could help others find the same courage that had carried them through their darkest hour. As Admiral Chen looked out at the stars, he saw not the darkness of space, but the light of possibility. Somewhere out there, enslaved humans were learning that Earth had not forgotten them. Somewhere out there, oppressed species were finding hope in humanity's example. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.